Speaking on the speech title, Can We Do It? Yes, we can, Adrian Roos.
Mr. Toastmaster, can we do it? Yes, we can. This is the slogan that swept Barack Obama to victory in the United States presidential election. And after him, Donald Trump came and said, let's make America great again. Then we look at our country and we say, what's going to become of us? Our economy has been hollowed out. And the question arises, can we recover? The fact is that we've withstood 10 years of this pillaging, at least 10 years of this pillaging, and that we still have a stable currency of some sort. The fact that Moody's still considered us investment grade, it tells you that we have a heck of a lot of resilience. Okay? Now, President Ramaphosa, he's going around looking for $100 billion. Okay? But the good news is that according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, we haven't. And according to their September 2018 report, corporate South Africa has 1,400 billion rand sitting in cash reserves that they are unwilling to invest at this point in time. So if you do the simple mathematics, we pretty much have that $100 billion already. And, to employ litotes, that's not too bad. Okay. So the question is economic stimulus enough? And what I decided to do was do some research that I always wanted to do into two post-war economies, and they call them economic miracles. And the one is looking at what happened in West Germany, and the other one is looking at what happened in Japan. Now, in Germany, they called their economic revival Wirtschaftswunder. Okay, and that basically means economic miracle. And it was also called the Miracle on the Rhine. Now, when you look at how they did it, it's quite interesting. So in John Gimbel's book, Science, Technology and Reparations, Exploitation and Plunder in Post-War Germany, he concludes that there were various intellectual reparations that happened after the war. And he estimates that it was about $10 billion worth of intellectual property in that was taken from Germany by the Allies. So they were really not only stripped of economic value and had their buildings bombed, but they also had a lot of this intellectual capital taken away. So what did they do? Of course, they took one step at a time. So what they first proceeded to do was focus on rebuilding their capital stock. Capital stock is pretty much saying things that can help us to produce. Things that can help us to produce wealth, things that can help us with manufacturing, and that kind of thing. And they really managed to do that at stunning rates. And the second step that they did that made this possible is that they kept austerity measures. So everyone made sure that consumption was quite low. And normally that's a bad thing for an economy if people aren't spending. But in this case, what they did is, with what they had, they invested in this capital. They invested in things that were going to grow. And they were very disciplined in that regard. And what that resulted in over time was a very high capital investment, the fact that people were focused on that. Okay. Now, what they employed in the general economy is something called ordoliberalism. And basically what that means is that they had a free market economy to a certain extent to get the economy going, but they took very specific controls over that to make sure that there wasn't inflation or depreciation and that kind of thing. So that they wanted to make sure that the economy theoretically reached its potential as far as they were concerned. Okay, one of the very important things they did was to cut tax as well. I'm going to give you the shocking statistics that if you earned over 6,000 Deutschmark after the war, anything above that was taxed at 95%. Okay? If you were earning more than 2,400 Deutschmarks, your nominal tax rate was 85%. I don't even know how this is possible, but according to the research it is. And that was slashed down to about 18%. But again, having this extra money, instead of splurging it on consumerism as you would normally do, they invested in these capital projects and they built up that capital. And at the time of the Korean War in the 1950s, when because obviously people didn't really want to buy with them, it wasn't a very exciting prospect, they were forced to, because now the Germans were in a position where they had this manufacturing capability and they were able to produce. The rest of the world was in a bit of disarray, and then they started to export. Okay. What also helped was they had about 150 to 250,000 US troops in the country at any one time during this process. And they were all getting sort of Fort Deutschmarks to the dollar, they were getting paid in dollars, and they were investing that. Okay, now let's look at Japan. Now Japan followed an export-oriented approach, and they used what's called Keynesian economic theory. So their idea was to say, yes, we want this free market economy, and we'll have limited interest rate hikes or tax cuts or economic stimulus. And they were lucky that they got quite a bit of help from the US in terms of that. But one key element that they had was that they had a lot of very good skills. And they took the skilled people from the war and they retrained them to become skilled people in manufacturing. And they really focused on that. And they started to grow their economy at about 10% very quickly. But one of the key things to their success in that stage was something called kairetsu. So if you've heard of Toyota, you might have heard of Toyota. Toyota doesn't operate alone. So they are part of a group of companies including Hitachi, Toshiba, and Sony. And they operate as a group of companies, and they call this them kairetsu. And basically what this is that any company would be part of a conglomerate of about 30 different companies. And they would be your manufacturers or distributors in it, but you would have long-term agreements with these. And you would also have shared shareholding. So therefore they propped themselves up, they protected themselves. So if one sector was doing badly, you could transfer staff to one of the other companies. And you wouldn't lose them. Or if you needed more intellectual capital there right now, they would transfer. And so this was a key part of their success. So if I look at the summary in terms of the lessons learned, I think the one thing is that we can do is to meet local demands locally. So in other words, if you're processing something in Gauteng, try and find a supplier that's in Gauteng. Try and develop somebody that's nearby you instead of importing. Secondly, decrease taxes. It's worked every time in America, now it's working phenomenally well to decrease taxes, not to increase taxes. And I believe we can do that. We'll all be very happy. In conclusion, we have 1,400 billion rand in capital sitting in our companies. So not only survive, but to thrive. And if we can learn some of the lessons from these countries, we can really do it. Mr. Toastmaster.